I am in Lucerne, Switzerland at the Glacier Garden. It is a very unique attraction right next to Lucerne's famous lion monument, but it gets very overlooked. The Glacier Garden is an authentic old-timey tourist trap from the turn of the 20th century. It definitely reminds me of some roadside attractions in the US. The first sights to see are the glacial potholes. These potholes were created during the last ice age, which ended about 14,000 years ago. During that time, massive ice sheets covered most of northern Europe, and there were ice caps on the Alps here in what is now Switzerland, so this whole region was under an 800-meter thick layer of ice. These potholes were formed at the bottom of the glacier during the period of warming. There are 16 preserved potholes here, carved into the rock by the glacier thousands of years ago. There's also lots of very smooth and round rocks. Back in 1872, a wine cellar was going to be built here by Joseph Wilhelm Amrien Troller, but when he started digging for the wine cellar, he found these potholes. Realizing the natural treasure on his property, he decided against destroying it for a wine cellar, and instead established the Glacier Garden. His attraction grew to include many more curiosities, and it is still operating 150 years later now. Many fossils from before the last ice age have been discovered here, such as that palm leaf fossil. Here's a big wave ripple fossil. These are pretty cool. Over 20 million years ago, Lucerne was a subtropical beach and sea. In this rock, we can see some fossilized seashells. Here's a fossil with lots of petrified shells on it. And here's an even bigger one. There's a big Swiss chalet with a museum in it, but we'll come back to that. Instead, we'll start by heading up the hill. The Glacier Garden is actually built into the side of a former sandstone quarry, the same one that the lion monument was carved out of. There are now two ways to get up to the top. One way is through the underground Felsenwelt, or visitors can go up a trail. Right now I'm going to take the trail up through the Alpine garden. There's another fossil. There are also some little gnomes hidden inside the crevices of the rock. This place is definitely reminding me of Rock City in Lookout Mountain, Georgia. There's a unique model back there. I'm not entirely clear on the story of this, but a glacial pothole was recreated here in 1896 for an experiment to find out more about them. Inside a replica SAC hut cabin, which is a type of cabin that was built on mountain trails across Switzerland, there is a unique diorama of the Gorner Glacier, created in 1896 by Xaver Imfeld. The Gorner Glacier is a massive glacier near Zermatt, technically the second largest glacier in the Alps. The Breithorn Range is painted behind the physical diorama. This is a really cool and unique way of displaying the diorama in this replica cabin. Atop the Summer Owl, the highest natural point in the Glacier Garden, there is an observation tower to climb. They claim that this is the oldest lookout tower in Switzerland, though I'm not sure of the date. Wow, there are some fantastic views from up here of the city and the surrounding Alp scenery. Over there is the center of Lucerne, and dominating the landscape is Mount Pilatus. I did go atop Pilatus and have a separate video on that experience. It was so awesome. Apparently this pond's water is supplied by the Gorner Glacier. You can see more walls of the sandstone quarry. There's a North American teepee frame back there. Now I'm going to head into the Summer Owl through this very unique stairway. There is also an elevator. This leads down into the Felsenwelt, a very unique and brand new attraction here. The design of the staircase and the use of natural stone is pretty ingenious. So the Felsenwelt is an underground walkthrough of geologic history, and this just opened up in the summer of 2021, so it's about a year old as of my visit. It utilizes some modern lighting and projection techniques on a journey through time. I think it is best to enter from the ground level, but instead we're going to start at the present and go back into time. There's all sorts of modern human-made objects fossilized in the stone here. The things we use today may become fossilized over millions and millions and millions of years. Each of these underground rooms marks an epoch in time. This is going to be very interesting. So that was definitely different from any natural history display I've been to. I thought the Felsenwelt was very neat, and adds a unique new spin to this old-fashioned glacier garden. And I just walked all the way down through this cliff wall. Now I'm going to head into the labyrinth, a mirror maze built into the cliff face. It is known as the Alhambra Hall of Mirrors, and is quite a historic mirror maze. It was built in 1896, so people have been enjoying this mirror maze for 125 years. It was actually built for the Swiss National Exposition in Geneva in 1896, which was visited by over 2 million people. Then the mirror maze got moved here to the Glacier Garden in 1899. Clearly it has some one-of-a-kind theming. It is much more intricate than the average modern mirror maze. The theming is based on the Alhambra in Granada, Spain, so it's like we're trapped in a mirror maze at the Alhambra. It consists of Moorish architecture, and has some very unique features like this wax figure of a Moor. Even though it is an old mirror maze, that doesn't mean it's not confusing. I'm a bit lost at this point. There is also a taxidermied peacock here inside the mirror maze. This section is based on the gardens of the Alhambra.
Alright, I think I have successfully, navigated the mirror maze. That's the best one I've ever been in.
And finally, we're going to head into the Swiss chalet, which houses a museum, and there's also a low bistro. This was the home of the Amrine family, though the chalet was expanded after the garden's founder Joseph Amrine Troller died. That was when it was turned into a museum. This museum is still like a cabinet of curiosities of the Amrine family, so this is very old-fashioned, and I am in heaven here. The architecture and decor of this old house is fantastic. This is a cave bear skeleton, made from the remains of several bears found in a cave near Graz, Austria. Here's a miniature diorama of a cave bear murdering its prey. This is the cast of a cave bear head. And that is a cast of a mammoth tusk. Below it is a relief of the Bernina Range, which is on the Switzerland-Italy border. Here's a scale model of the mighty Matterhorn. And here's a relief of a glacier in the Alps. This is a replica cast of a baby mammoth named Dyma. The real one was found very well preserved in the Siberian permafrost. This house is full of great antique furnishings, and there's a 1597 map of Lucerne. There are a bunch of curiosities above the stairs. These are all sorts of unique relics and photos of the Amrine family. I believe that is a taxidermied cat on the chair. Next to it is an antique musical automaton of birds in a cage. I wish that still worked. And that's a taxidermied dog mount. There's plenty more to see on the second floor. This room contains some great old furnishings. This is a panoramic drawing of Mount Rigi from 1823. Here are some miniature pewter figures, and the tools used to make them by Joseph Niederost. Here's an impressive and old miniature diorama of the Battle of Muta Valley, which occurred somewhat near Lucerne on October 1st, 1799, after the Russians, led by General Suvorov, along with their Austrian allies, soundly fended off the French Republic's army from St. Gothard Pass a few days before. They pushed north and continued fighting through the Muta Valley, which is the scene depicted here. This definitely did not go well for the French. This is a painting of Russian General Alexander Suvorov in the Alps. Now on the balcony of this classic Swiss chalet, this room is known as the Family Hall. It features lots of original family furnishings of the Alpine trollers. This fossil contains a three-toed dinosaur footprint. This is a fossilized Ceriosaurus. They lived 200 million years ago in a sea that is now southern Ticino here in Switzerland. They were very fast and ate all sorts of little dinos and reptiles. That's a fossilized baby Ceriosaurus. This is Pilatus Hall. The highlight is this relief map of Mount Pilatus, which towers over Lucerne as we saw from the lookout tower. This relief was made in 1913 by Xaver Imfeld. Here are some fish fossils. This is the Crystal Hall, which features a fantastic collection of rocks and minerals from the Swiss Alps and from around the world. They have lots of beautiful specimens. This is the Glacier Garden's weird mascot. I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to be. These are all stones found among the Alps. They seem to be organized in their original case from way back in the day. This is pretty awesome. A full-size scale relief of the Alps. This was created by Xaver Imfeld and Fridolin Becker for the Goddard Railway Company, and it was displayed at the 1889 Exposition Universelle in Paris, where it won a grand prize. This was displayed both to encourage tourism in Switzerland, but also as part of an exhibit on railroad safety in the Alps. Apparently people had some reservations about that. The Goddard Railway Company's routes are displayed throughout the relief. There's more up on the third floor. This is an early Baroque bedroom, featuring furnishings from the 18th century. Here's another room with period furnishings, complete with a mannequin figure. That buffet is from the 17th century. Here are some random collections, including some old-fashioned taxidermy bird displays. This is a 1792 map of Lucerne. This room contains some custom wood carved friezes featuring old Lucerne mayors. Here's an old relief of Mount Saintus, the highest mountain in northeastern Switzerland. This was the study of Mrs. Alpine troller, filled with furnishings from the 1820s. there's a real treasure in the basement. But first, here's a miniature model of Lucerne in the year 1792, when it had a population of about 4,300 people and would have still been very medieval. I noticed that the Chapel Bridge and Sproyer Bridge are there on the River Reuss, but there's also the Hofbrook to the east. That covered footbridge was just like the Chapel Bridge. It was built in the 14th century, but it is no longer there. I noticed some tin soldiers in here. This is the Pfeiffer relief, the oldest surviving mountain relief map in the world. Franz Ludwig Pfeiffer made this humongous three-dimensional relief map between 1762 and 1786. It took him over 20 years to complete. It depicts central Switzerland, which has Lake Lucerne at the center. This was a revolutionary piece of cartography. Never before had a relief map of lakes and mountains like this been recreated to scale. All of this was based on Pfeiffer's own precise measurements. Pfeiffer used plaster mixed with clay, powdered charcoal, crushed bricks, and pitch, topped by colored wax. That's Mount Pilatus. They have added interactive lighting to point things out. Mount Rigi is somewhere over there. So this is truly amazing. One of the most, if not the most, historic relief map. There are more fossils by the exit, but they also have these funhouse mirrors. There's another cabin, probably original to the garden. And visitors exit passing by the glacial potholes again that started it all. I am extremely impressed with the Glacier Garden. I love old-fashioned and somewhat random hidden gems like this, so I thought this was awesome. This is honestly my favorite place that I visited here in the Lucerne area. It's literally right next to the Lion Monument, which everyone visits, so more people should be stopping in here. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Also take a look at my other videos featuring unique attractions like this, as well as other roadside attractions, museums, natural wonders, historic locations, and more here in Switzerland, as well as across America and Europe. I did film some other videos here in Lucerne, including one on the Lion Monument. Thanks for watching!